In this video, I'm going to teach you about business credit. Not just credit cards, but other forms of business credit that you can use to grow your business. Obviously, my main business is Airbnb, but you can use it in other businesses. I'm going to teach you how to start to develop business credit. I'm going to show you what kind of credit you can get and what order you should get it in, some credit maybe to avoid. And for the first time ever, we're considering using credit heavily for some of our growth. And as you guys know, in past videos, I've warned you against using credit for the sake of being responsible. I do have a theory about the future market that is changing my mind, and I owe you an explanation since I'm going back on something I said before. My name's Sean Rocky G. I have over 120 properties. We're making like $4 million plus per year. I've made like 10 million plus on Airbnb platform. This is my fourth multi-million-dollar business. You know, all the accolades, but now here I am on YouTube, as per usual, teaching you guys how to become better business owners. Let's go. Welcome back, YouTube world. It's so good to see you guys again. I'm in town for a very short period of time. I'm super grateful that you guys are tuning in to these videos. By the time you see this, I'm gonna be at Burning Man. I'm gonna be at Burning Man with my school bus, and then I'm going to same but different festival in California, and then coming back here where I think I'll be hosting a seminar again. I did a sales seminar, 2 days, how to negotiate with landlords. When I get back in town though, I'll be doing one on market research, like a deep dive on how to find the best Airbnb properties, where, why they're gonna be good, etc. So stay tuned for that. But this video, we're talking about business credit because a lot of you guys have been following this channel for years. You have your LLCs, you're doing a good job, and you've always wondered how to do business credit, and I've always avoided the topic until now. First, let me tell you why I think credit could be a good idea now, as opposed to years ago when I thought it wasn't maybe worth your time or was too high risk. Well, I've always thought that leases are a form of leverage. A lot of you buy your properties too, so we're not just talking about arbitrage, okay? But mortgages are a form of leverage, and renting a property is a form of leverage. You've got a property and you have to make a payment on it to control that property. It's leverage. So I've told you guys, don't get leverage for your furniture if you're also leveraging the property, right? Something like that, because now you're double leveraging. And credit cards are the main ways that people typically tend to leverage for furniture. They get a credit card and they get like a no interest one, and they just ride that out, which I think is a misuse of a no interest credit card. That's something we're gonna get into. But right now, there's a lot of what investors are calling dry powder in the market. You guys may not know, but I live in a penthouse at a building called the Katy here in Dallas, and my rent's like $12,000 a month. So my neighbor is an investment banker guy from New York. Him and his wife are in between. He does bank and non-bank debt for businesses. He looked at my financials and he's like, man, we can get you like $3 million on a loan as a growth loan, 10% interest, no principal payments for like 10 years. I'm like, wow, that's sick. And so we went out to dinner and we were talking about debt. He's like, yeah, there's just so much dry powder in the market, which means there's tons of investors with tens or hundreds of millions of dollars that want to put it in the market. They just can't find a place that they really want to put it in, right? The stock market's grown crazy. A lot of the real estate market's gone crazy. And they're looking for places to put their money where they can get a surefire return. And so this is driving people to put, money into like tier 2 lending or slightly higher risk lending, which in this case can be credit cards, but also a form of debt that I'm getting hounded about now are brokers that are calling me saying, we can get you a business loan of $150, $250, or $500,000. Just send us your bank statements and some stuff like that. And so there's a ton of brokers pushing these debt terms now. And what's cool about that is if there's a lot of supply for these debt terms, you can negotiate these debt terms. And I'm actually getting these guys to come down on their typical terms. Normally, terms are like 25% cost of debt, which 25% cost of debt means if you take $100 in debt, it's gonna cost you 25 bucks. So you're gonna pay 125 back. Now, this is the term that I think you guys need to be careful to always follow, regardless of what they're pitching you otherwise, is you wanna know what the cost of the debt is lifetime. What is the lifetime cost of debt? Because if you look at a mortgage, even with a 4 or 5% interest rate mortgage, your cost of debt isn't 4 or 5%. When you pay it over 30 years, you're gonna pay 50%, 75%, 100% cost of debt. So that's something to understand here. So if you have a loan that somebody offers you and they say, we'll give you $200,000, there's going to be a $10,000 origination fee, and you have to pay $60,000 in interest over the course of 9 months, right? That's $60,000 in interest, $10,000 origination fee. That's $70,000 cost of debt on now a $190,000 loan because the $10,000 origination fee came out of the loan they gave you. So now 70 over 190 is your cost of debt, and it's for 9 months. So if you put that into an APR or an annual percentage, it's actually higher because you only got 9 months of the debt. So the shorter the term on debt, the worse it is, and the higher the cost of debt, the worse it is. But what I'm saying is I'm getting these people who are normally doing, say 20% cost of debt for a 9-month loan. They're willing to come to the table for a 1-year loan instead. Same 20%, but they're giving me a few extra months. Or, an 18-month loan where they wanted 25%, they're coming down to say 22 or 21%. Now, this might not be the final stop. This might keep getting better and better and better for small businesses like us. So what I would encourage you to do is start to prepare to take debt, because this is one half of the whole enchilada here. And the other half of why I think debt's going to get really good is because there's already people who've taken a ton of debt on stuff, and the market is reversing in some areas, right? Inflation has really screwed with the market, and it's created some bubbles, and those bubbles are bursting and things are pulling back, right? And now I'm not an expert in economics, but you can see it in the news. So if the housing market pulls back and people were highly leveraged into buying properties over the last year, for example, they might be forced to unload that stuff because they were leveraged. If people got into the stock market and the stock market pulls back, they're going to be forced to unload that stuff because they were leveraged. What happens is if you have something that's worth $100 and you had $25 of your own money and you borrowed 75 and it comes back down $25, you lose your 25. You still owe the 75. So now you've lost all of your equity in something. This happens in the stock market a lot with margin. And so there's going to be points in time in the future when the coming recession pulls, or this recession that's already here, pulls everything back down and people are forced to sell stuff that they don't want to sell. Now, since they were leveraged, they're going to sell lots of stuff just to clear their debts, and they're going to end up wiping out all their equity, all their net worth, blah, blah, blah. Now, if you're smart, hopefully you've been smart, and you haven't been taking debt yet, you're sitting on some cash but no debt, you're going to be in a power position to then start buying things from people who are forced to sell them. If everything pulls back and everything's on sale, and then you use debt to buy things when they're at a discount, and the market then corrects and it goes up 10, 15%, you just made 10, 15% on someone else's money using debt. Now, that's what everybody was trying to do the last year and a half, but they might have just done it at the wrong time. This is my theory. So if the market pulls back and things are on sale, that would be a good time to then utilize debt to buy some stuff, buy the dip per se. So that's my thought on that. But now, what kind of things am I talking about buying? Well, in large, I'm talking about things like furniture. I can speak to the Airbnb world, the short-term rental space. I can speak to that. So I want to talk to you about that and how to leverage debt to, of course, build your Airbnb business. So second is how to start to build debt, right? You've got my thesis on why debt could be cool. We're going to target short-term rentals here in this example, but how to start building debt. Things you need to know is businesses have two separate numbers that debt starts to get tracked on. One is your EIN number. You go to irs.gov and you can get an EIN number for your business. As soon as you file an LLC, you can go to that website and get an EIN number like that. You can get your paperwork electronically filed, you get it same day. Another one is a DUNS number, or DNB number. Go to dnb.com and file for a DUNS number. These two numbers are like social security numbers for your business, and it's how credit gets tracked. Now, these are business credit cards, and this one right here is a secured business credit card. And I'll talk about this here in a second, but there's things called trade lines and there's things like credit lines that you're going to start to build. Now, first, a trade line, since I don't have them in my hand. A trade line is a relationship with another business where you buy something and they give you time to pay. So they'll give you an invoice and you have 30 days or 60 days to pay. That trade line is called either a net 30 or a net 60, whether they gave you 30 or 60 days to pay. You want to start to get these. And you want to start paying them early. Don't wait till the 30th day or the 55th day. Pay them 20 days early. That's probably the best thing you can do. If you got a net 30, pay it in 10 days. If you got a net 60, pay it in 20 or 30. Because how early you are on your net terms is how high your credit goes. That's how they actually do that for net 30 accounts. Having 3 or 4 trade lines that you do business with monthly, every other month, here or there, is a way to start to build that credit up. Now, you can also then take your business, your LLC, you can take the fact that you have a business bank account with some deposits, you got some trade lines, you got both numbers, and then you just go to a bank like, in this case, Wells Fargo, which I think they stopped this card, but there are other banks that do secured credit cards, and you can do a secured card if it's your first credit card. How this works is you take, say, $500 or $1,000, you go to that bank and say, I'd like a business credit card and I want to secure it with a deposit. So they'll put $1,000 in a savings account that you can't touch, and then they'll give you a credit card for $1,000. Now you can use this and then make your payments, and after about, say, 6 months, if you've made all your payments, you were good with your card, they'll give you that $1,000 collateral back. So now you have a real credit card. Now this starts to develop a credit history with your business, which is really cool. Now that bank will probably end up offering you other credit cards down the road. We got, immediately after we had a couple of these and we got our money back, we applied for a real one and they gave us a real one, which is cool. So that's the first way to get like your first like credit card that can get points, because these don't get points or cash back. It's just a way to build credit. But after this, the secured card in the bank that might give you a cool card after the secured one, other ones you can do, probably the first ones you'll do are like Amazon Prime cards. Now, I heard that Synchrony Bank, they're going to stop doing net accounts with Amazon. I just read that on a Facebook group. I don't know if that's true, but there are still Visa Business Prime cards that you can still get. And when you get these business prime cards, you can start to develop a business relationship with Amazon. You get some points back, stuff like that. They may not give you a big balance, but any balance counts right now. And then you start to move on, and then American Express will start to give you really big fancy credit cards. Now, the cool thing about these credit cards is, I mean, this one's got like a $15,000 limit. This one's got a $25,000 limit. This one's got a $12,000 limit. This one I think is like 10 or 11.5. This one is one we haven't activated yet. It's $10,000, no interest for a year. I'm going to talk about that in a second. I think that's important. This one's like 8, things like that. So, I mean, I've got 6 figures in credit card like available reserves here, and then I've got these other broker accounts that want to give me 150, 175 at a time, which is nice. Now, Stripe is another one. Before we get to this no interest credit card, because I want to talk about how people misuse this card by the end of this video. This is going to be super helpful for you. But a stop on the way, another form of debt is if you have a Stripe account and you're doing like direct bookings on Airbnb, or you have an online store that's charging people through Stripe, they're going to look at your activity and they're going to notice that you're consistently, say, depositing $30,000 a month, right? If you're consistently depositing $30,000 a month for a while, they'll probably give you a loan for $15,000, right? And they'll auto draft based off of your revenues on Stripe. So they'll give you $15,000, and they're going to take 20-ish% of $30,000 every month, because based on your revenues, until they pay it back. And that's kind of how that loan works. That's a real cool way to get fast cash if you need it. And this brings me to the why you should use credit and when and stuff like that. And this is what allows me to talk about a no interest credit card like this Discover one. And sorry, with that Stripe account too, things like deposits, there's another card. This is called a Karat Card. It's mostly for influencers. So they reached out to me, but I'm going to put a link in the description so you guys might be able to get this one. They don't run your credit, but they look at your bank statements and look at your deposits. And then they look at your social media to see if you have enough social media followers. I think that's the 2 combinations that they do. So based on your deposits and whether or not you have any clout, they're going to give you this. And this one doesn't work the way a normal credit card works. I use it all month, and then the first of the next month, they charge it. So if you want to increase your cash position coming through the end of the month, this is a great card to use for the first week of every month. Just use it for the first 10 days. And what you're doing is you're parlaying your payment on stuff 20-ish days. It's not a big credit card because they just pull the whole balance in the first of every month, but it's still cool. So you can use this, and it's not hard to get, is kind of the point. And it's heavy, which is nice. So increasing your cash position, increasing your liquidity, and the no interest card. Let's talk about that. All of these forms of debt are ways that you can get access to assets or pay liabilities without having to come up with the cash for them now. And when you're playing an aggressive growth game, this is what's important here. When you play an aggressive growth game, you might end up in a position where you are putting yourself at risk of being cash broke or cash poor. So let's say you have $200,000 in monies, and your rents per month are $100,000 per month, right? You got 2 months of rent in the books. But let's say you go on a growth spree. You find a really good deal. Landlord's going to give you 8 weeks of rent for free, and they're going to give you, like, say, 20 or 30 doors. Well, you might spend $120,000, $170,000 on furniture to launch 20 or 30 doors. And by doing that, you now only have $30-ish, $50-ish thousand, and you're short on rent. Now, because of that, you can't pay your rent liabilities, and then you end up making a landlord super angry. You got late fees. Maybe they'll even try to evict you. That'd be bad. So if you want to be able to do both, pay your rents and take advantage of a really sweet deal, you can dip into credit. Now, one of these short-term loans in this case probably would be best. If you take a loan for $100,000 and then they charge you over the case of 4 or 5 months, but the cost of debt isn't too high. Like the Stripe one, I think the cost of debt's 17%, but they'll probably get their money back from you in 4 or 5 months. Now, in the case that you have a deal where you get 8 weeks of rent for free and that's why you're doing this, As you guys know, getting free rent on a deal is like getting cash within the first 2 months. If you're operating your Airbnb, and even if you're just getting a couple $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 per month per property, you get maybe 45 days or 40 days of like free cash flow income before you have to start paying future rents. So by doing this, you can get, say, $2,500 per property, and at 25 per property on 30 properties is $75,000 in cash right back in your pocket. So buying all the furniture might cost you $170,000, but you're gonna get $75,000 of it back before you even get to month 3, and then you'll start to profit off of those doors, whether it's $800 per property per month, $1,000 per property per month. You'll start to make your $15,000 to $30,000 per month profit, and you will make your $175,000 back in, say, 6 months at worst, right? And so what's cool about that is if you took a 4-month-long loan for the $175,000, those properties would get you almost all that $175,000 back within the 4 months. And so if you did the math, the 200 minus, say, 150, you have 50 cash left. You get a 175, loan, and then you have 225 in cash. And you buy all the furniture, and then you also still pay your rents, and you have your incomes, and you get this cash infusion from your free rent. And over the course of 4 to 6 months, it should all balance out, right? You use that debt as a tool. And that's the part that is really important here, is you need to have a plan for your debt. You want to know that if you take cash that costs money, you can properly put it into play right now, so that way you're not wasting it. You shouldn't have sitting dead in the water. You shouldn't take a loan and have it sit in your bank account for a month. That is the worst thing you could ever do. You're just buying money that you're not using. So when you buy someone else's money in a form of debt, you want to put it to work right away, and it needs to outperform your debt terms right away. And you need to have a business plan, like a mini business plan, for how you're going to use that one bit of cash infusion. And so buying furniture for a property that gives you free rent, I think, is a great idea. One of the greatest ways to get your cash back right away, free rent from a landlord. Now, in this case, what we did is we got extra cash to be able to make a financial play. Now, these no interest credit cards, I think the best way to use them is to just have them in your back pocket as a safety net. A lot of people misuse these because this is how they start their business. They will go to a bank, get a no interest 1 year, they'll buy furniture on that card, and then they'll start to run their business. Now they need to make enough money and pocket enough money to pay their minimums for the year, and then buy all their furniture in what's called a balloon payment at the end of the year. A balloon payment, let's say there's $10,000 on this card that you bought furniture, and you make a $200 per month payment. Well, you've gotten, say, $2,200 in 11 months. There's still $7,800 on this card. Before the end of the year, you need to now make a balloon payment of $7,800 to pay this card off. Otherwise, all of the interest for the year hits this card, 22% every single month. That's a lot of money. So now you're looking at, say, 300% of 10,000. You're gonna have to pay an extra 20 grand for your furniture after the year's over if you don't make a payment on this card. That's why I think using this to start a business where you don't actually have cash is probably the worst idea. But when you have these in your back pocket, if you have a few $10,000 no interest credit cards and you're playing an aggressive game and you get a little bit cash poor, instead pay some liabilities with this card, right? By paying liabilities with a card instead of cash that you have, let's say you only have $30,000 in cash and you need to keep that $30,000 in cash for some other stuff that's like cash required later, you take a $10,000 credit card and then you pay your electric bills, your internet bills, and buy some stuff on Amazon, like some supplies with this card, right? And you load this card with $10,000 of liabilities. Well, now you didn't have to spend $10,000 on cash. So this was like getting a 0% interest cash loan for $10,000. You just need to pay that $10,000 in cash back by the end of the year. So I like using, or we haven't even done it yet, but I like the theoretical concept of using a no interest credit card to substitute for a cash expense when you need it in the moment. This allows you to grow aggressively and use these as more of a defensive measure for your aggressive growth game. I think that's how you should use this. Rule number 1 of business is don't run out of cash. And the reason why debt products exist and are valid is because there might be times where you could run out of cash, which takes away your options. Cash gives you options. Cash is the blood of a business, right? It's the life force of a business. And if you make some miscalculations or you make some mistakes as you grow your business or whatever, running out of cash will make it so that way you can't do anything else with your business and you can just run out of business. So having things like free rent on the horizon where you know you're going to get a bunch of cash in the future and you want to take advantage of that opportunity because free rent is insta profit and you want those deals, using a debt product could be a cool way to be able to, in the moment, take advantage of a really good deal. We've got 40 doors in Houston that we're going to take, and we're going to get some free rent on those 40 doors. We've got 15 doors at one property in Baytown, which they'll give us even more. We're going to get free rent on those doors. We get some doors in Waco we're going to get where we should get 6 weeks of rent for free on those doors. We got deals in Philadelphia where we're going to get 8 weeks of rent for free in Philadelphia. We've got all these deals with free rent. Now, if we go and we pop off 100-ish doors, that's going to be about $500,000 to $600,000 in furniture. And in order to play an aggressive game while also maintaining some cash, we're going to probably use some debt just to make it easy. So that's how we would do it. So another way to utilize debt in this space, in this future space to buy furniture, is there are going to be people selling apartments worth of furniture as they get out of the Airbnb game. There are a lot of people who don't know what they're doing, and it's because they don't watch YouTube channels like this. They don't know anything about dynamic pricing. They didn't do proper market research. They just took a property that a professional told them to take without doing their own due diligence. They picked a market and a property type that weren't suitable for each other. There's some mistakes that they made. And now they want out because they can't run their business profitably. Well, these people that are exiting because they couldn't run profitably, they're going to sell their furniture at a loss. And this allows you to buy great furniture for 50, 60 cents on the dollar. That's really good. So if you have access to debt to take a bunch of furniture at 60 cents on the dollar, and then you later grow by putting that furniture into properties, if you can get that furniture now because you have the cash position to buy those and say, wait on it, well, buying furniture, say 2 months early for 40% off allows you then to save a bunch of money on your next launch in a couple of months. So having debt today to be able to buy furniture and then put it to use later because you didn't need to dip into all of your cash, right? You can actually go and extend some of this debt into this furniture. If your money to buy the furniture costs you, say, 20%, well, you buy $500 in furniture, it's going to cost you $600 because of the debt. But that $500 in furniture was actually $1,000 in furniture. You paid with your debt $600 to buy $1,000 worth of furniture. That's kind of what I'm getting at here. So again, like I said, people are going to be forced to sell off stuff. And if you are waiting, not over leveraged because you didn't take debt yet, you got some cash, you got great debt terms, as people are dropping stuff into your lap, you can buy it on the cheap and then grow your business hardcore. We, in a way, did this with like Stay Alfred when COVID hit. Other people did the same thing. Stay Alfred just abandoned a bunch of furniture inside some doors. We didn't need to take debt, but what we did is we started taking leases at buildings that Stay Alfred was operating in, and they just left their furniture. So we called the building and said, hey, we'll take over those doors with the furniture. We'll just take the furniture and we'll start paying rent right away. Now, if we did enough of them, if we had enough of those deals, we would have ran out of cash eventually. Like taking 2,000 properties, we wouldn't have had enough cash to pay rent on 2,000 new doors, but you get the point. So debt allows you to take advantage of finite windows of opportunity where you get things at a great discount. That's where you should use the debt, because the discount offset by your cost of debt should still be a discount, which makes you profitable. And that's my logic here. So thanks for coming to my TED Talk on debt. We'll talk more about building and developing business credit as it's relevant. But as you guys know, you need an LLC to do your short-term rental business anyway. So you're already halfway there. As per usual, guys, it was a pleasure to talk to you. And also, as always, I'll see you on the other side.